Good morning, Chillie Falls here with Chillie's Cruises. Live, I hope. Still having all kinds of technical issues with the changes that were thrown at us starting the first of the month that I wasn't expecting at all. So to give folks a chance, I thought I would at least catch you up on some personal news here with this channel. Give people a chance to find us and get on here live. We have been using, since I started doing live broadcasts, the Google Hangout Live function, I guess you'd call it, which gave me the capability of not only doing live broadcasts, but to also do my interview shows where I could bring a person in and we could do an interview on the Hangout, and it could be, put into a videotape afterwards, just like I do with any live broadcast. That feature, the Google Hangout Live, is no longer available. I don't know if that was a Google decision, a YouTube decision. I have no idea. And as you know, my lack of technological skills have not allowed me to figure out any way to get around it yet. So I'm still working on that. And one of the problems is when I set up an event ahead of time, like a live show like this morning, what I would do in the past was get it set up and put the description in and put the tags in and the title in and all that thing. And then I could promote it to my Facebook group, to Twitter, to YouTube folks, so that people would know that I'm going to be live at, like this morning, it was going to be at 6 o'clock rather than 10 o'clock, which I'll get to that in a second. And now I can't do that. So if to do that and be able to promote it ahead of time, it's a circular thing. It doesn't allow me to come back to this live broadcast. It's just weird when they threw away what was working, I thought was working well. Anyway, those of you that do watch me regularly know that I was supposed to be traveling today. I was going to do the broadcast early this morning, like I'm doing it now, as opposed to 10 a.m. And then I was leaving and heading for Kentucky to spend 3 days or so with my son and my grandkids in Louisville. And that has now changed. I'll be going to Kentucky on the 20th rather than this morning. In the meantime, my days have filled up with appointments and things with personal business that I have to take care of here. So it's still going to be a crazy week, even though I'm not on the road like I was supposed to be. So I decided to go ahead with the live broadcast this morning early. And then with the changes, I couldn't promote what I was doing. So I just have kind of going blind live and hope somebody finds me and jumps in. If they don't, then they'll catch it as a videotape. On Thursday, for the 10 o'clock live broadcast of Travel and Cruise Industry News, I'm probably going to do a videotape of whatever news we have and have it posted at 10 o'clock on Thursday morning. I do have a conflicting appointment, one that is quite important and I can't get out of. So at least for now, I'm really not planning on doing another live broadcast until Saturday morning at 10 a.m. And there's a possibility, folks, that because of the headaches with this changing of things, I might be going to that as opposed to doing a live broadcast anyway. You guys know the fact that I think live broadcasts are horrible, with me sitting here, big fat guy at the screen and talking to you about whatever we're talking about that day. as opposed to being able to put multimedia involvement into the news so you see pictures of what's going on. If I'm talking about an earthquake someplace, at least it gives you a more perspective of what I'm talking about if I've got pictures or videos of that, of the area and the damage and all that kind of thing. So I don't know. I've got some decisions to make on this, and quite frankly, with them doing away with what was working for me, it might help me along. So anyway, for travel and cruise industry news, both on Thursday and Saturday, look for it at 10 o'clock. It may be just as a video that goes live at 10 a.m. on both days, as opposed to a live broadcast. And for those few of you that have been getting on my live broadcast, sorry about that. I'm sure I will still have some live broadcasts along the way, and I haven't decided totally on this yet, and I won't until I get out with my son and his knowledge and so forth of if I can do what I want to do without it costing me a tremendous amount of money. So anyway, that brings us up to today, to our broadcast of travel and cruise industry news. This will be volume 67, which is for August the 6th, 2019. And I just realized that one of the things I can't do on this broadcast is go to my other screen and see what I'm doing. Oh, well. All right. Top story this morning. You know how I feel about the whole Puerto Rico situation and its continuing mess. Puerto Rico Supreme Court yesterday agreed to rule on a lawsuit that the island Senate filed in a bid to oust the recently appointed governor. So we knew the Senate had to confirm him yesterday. And they didn't. They filed the lawsuit instead. The lawsuit seeks a preliminary injunction ordering Pedro Pierluisi to cease his functions immediately, and also asks that the court declare unconstitutional a 2005 law that says the Secretary of State does not have to be approved by both House and the Senate if he or she has to step in as governor. I want to put an end to this, said Senate President Thomas Rivera Schatz during a special session in which he stated he would let the court decide the outcome, adding that Pierluisi only had 5 of 15 votes needed from the Senate for his earlier nomination as Secretary of State. It's interesting to point out that Schatz, who is, I guess, the head of the Senate president, is a declared candidate for the governorship elections that are to be held this fall. And so he's ruling on this, not allowing Pierluisi to be confirmed. Pierluisi was selected as Secretary of State by outgoing Governor Roseo. The House voted his confirmation. He was sworn in as governor, but the Senate never confirmed it on Friday. So Pierluisi has said that if he did not get the confirmation, then it would go to the next in line in the succession, which is Vasquez, the Secretary of the Treasury. So now the Supreme Court in Puerto Rico is involved. It's unclear how long this is going to take. The Supreme Court, the announcement comes as Puerto Ricans who successfully ousted the previous governor from office following nearly 2 weeks of protests await yet another twist in what is a deepening constitutional crisis. If the court finds in favor of the Senate, Justice Secretary Wanda Vasquez would become governor, said constitutional attorney Carlos Ramos, adding that it's unclear whether Pierluisi would remain as Secretary of State or whether he would be stripped of all positions. This is just getting ridiculous to an outsider. I feel sorry for the people of Puerto Rico, but my goodness, they need to get their act together, get a governor in place, go on about the business of running the country and until their next official elections. So it's a continuing mess following the resignation of Roseo. Is there an end to this anywhere in sight? I don't know. I certainly don't see it. But what a mess. So that's it from Puerto Rico for now. There's no answer to anything. And of course, as always, if something major happens, we'll get a video up bringing you that information, and probably have another update on Thursday on what's going on in San Juan. Okay, this story came out yesterday in Charleston, South Carolina, concerning Carnival Cruise Lines and the more of the environmental issues with Carnival. Carnival houses or the home bases of the Carnival Sunshine at the Union Pier Terminal in downtown Charleston. And Carnival is defending its use of scrubbers to comply with the global emission standards, which began in January. So there are standards that have been set by the International Maritime Organization that mandate ships to use fuel that contains no more than 0.5% sulfur, or install equipment that reduces sulfur dioxide emissions, and that has to be done by January. The coming demand for low sulfur fuel that's used in ships, cruise ships, and other ships, it's not just the cruise industry, it's everybody, is expected to cause potential shortages, which means it will be more expensive than today's bunker fuel, is what they use now, which contains 3.5% sulfur. Some analysts predict fuel prices will rise by 1/3, and the higher costs will be passed throughout the transportation chain, which means that Carnival Cruise Line, for instance, will have to raise their prices. They don't want to do that, so they came up with these devices that are called scrubbers that control the emissions from the stacks, the chimneys on the ships. Now, these scrubbers, they claim, are better than the low fossil fuel, and even though they're expensive, they can cost up to $5 million per stack. Are better in the long run, or less expensive in the long run than the expensive low sulfur fuel. That plan has run into opposition from the environmentalists who've called for a moratorium on the scrubbers. This whole issue is brought back to the forefront again because of the horrible pictures that came from the Carnival ship in Nassau last week or 2 weeks ago. Last week, I think it was, emitting just horrible smoke in Nassau, which, as it turned out, was from an engine fire and not the engines running. But still, that kicked off the environmentalists to start raising the stink about this whole issue again. Rightly so. Now, folks, I'm not making a political statement on this. I'm not siding with one side or the other, because I tend to be more on the side of the environmentalists when it comes to protecting our environment within reason. I like to consider it. The pollution is one of the reasons that environmental and historic preservation groups and some Charleston residents are going to court to fight the development of a new cruise passenger terminal at Union Pier. So they're worried about the long range effect that this will have, and that they claim that the use of the scrubbers is not good. Carnival has responded to the controversy and argues that scrubbers aren't just the best way to reduce sulfur dioxide, but also a host of other airborne pollutants. Scrubbers, quote, have the proven capability to outperform low sulfur fuel alternatives, adding that overall cleaner air emissions is a way to make the ocean environments safer. So, folks, I am not a chemist. I am not an expert on any of this. I know that Carnival and the other cruise line, it's not just Carnival, it's just that Carnival, by being the biggest, is the one that catches the most grief. Over the years, have done tremendous damage to the environment. They are making some steps to improve it. You've got new ships being built today that are going to be run on LNG fuel, which is way, way cleaner and way better. But there's a lot of ships out there that are still using the higher emission fuels, and they're taking the right steps to correct this in the long run. But in the short term, I'm not sure that there is a good solution to this. I feel for the people of Charleston. I realize what they're trying to do, that they're trying to protect their environment there. And I'm not sure there's a good happy medium on this one either, unless you just bite the bullet and use the cleaner fuel and charge more for it. And that way, if the fuel's going up a third, you got to figure the price of a cruise is going to go up a third or something close to it. So not a good solution. All right, that's kind of a negative story. So I thought I'd end this on a positive story. 3 Port Canaveral employees are being recognized for their quick actions in potentially helping save a cruise passenger's life after the passenger collapsed in the parking garage at Cruise Terminal 1 at Port Canaveral. This happened yesterday. Happened Sunday afternoon, Sunday morning. According to the port, the passenger was stricken about 7 a.m. after getting off of the Royal Caribbean's Harmony of the Seas following a cruise. Working as a team, 3 Port Canaveral employees helped to save the man's life, the port said in a Facebook post describing the incident. The team of cruise operations associates sprang into action. Each one took a different role to help save the man's life. Sean Summers got on the phone with 911 immediately. Josh Clayton ran to get a portable defibrillator, and Stephanie Dobson stayed with the man and monitored his condition until the ambulance arrived. The port said several other passengers, a nurse and a doctor included, performed cardiopulmonary resuscitation until members of the Canaveral Fire Rescue and the Brevard County Sheriff's Office folks arrived moments later. And all of a sudden, they were able to save the man. So my hat's off. I tip my hat to the 3 employees who sprang into action quickly and helped to save a man's life. Of course, he was transported to the hospital, and there has been no additional information on his condition since then, other than they saved his life. So hats off to them. Okay, that wraps up travel and cruise industry news for this morning. I have no earthly idea what's going to happen Thursday and Saturday. There will be something live or something on the air or a video up at 10 a.m. both days. I don't know if it's going to be live or if it's going to be videotaped. I wish I had an answer to that, but right now I don't until we get this mess straightened out. Thanks for visiting Chillie Cruises. By the way, our subscriber count this morning was 1,436, so we continue to grow. I appreciate all of you new folks that are with us for the first time. We regularly post videos on all facets of the travel and cruise industry. So if you'd like to keep up with the latest in cruise ships, ports of call, cruises themselves, my interview shows, which I assume we'll be able to do somehow in the future, called Chillie Chats, and our 3 days a week travel and cruise industry news broadcasts, which are Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 10 a.m. Just hit the little subscribe button in the lower right-hand corner, and the bell notification, and you'll be notified when we get a new video posted or we go live. Again, with the changes from Google and YouTube on the Hangout live format disappearing, I'm not sure how we're going to do it yet, but we'll come up with a way. And so, those of you that do follow the cruise and travel industry news, we will be continuing in that vein. So that's it for this morning. This is Chillie, the fat travel guy. I'll see you Thursday at 10 o'clock. If not sooner, if something happens, we'll get a video up concerning it or go live if necessary, depending on the story. So that's it for this morning. Later, y'all.